5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And it's live.
This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Watch and subscribe on YouTube and listen on your podcast platform.
Good evening again. Welcome to Sloppy Seconds. Good afternoon, good morning, good night, good day, goodbye, hello, wherever you are in the world. One of those will apply to you. If you're watching live, thanks very much. Get in the chat. What do you think of the news? I mean, I don't know how true this is. I'm getting a little bit excited, probably because it's not Gary O'Neill, which is as a good an excuse to get excited about an appointment as anything. But I go on to talk sport, and I just want to show you something, guys, because I'm not saying, in fact, I hadn't even pressed the right button. No, I'm not saying that betting has been suspended, but this is what has been showing now for a while. So if I can just bring this up for you. There we go. Very small, I know, bear with me, but it does say there are no markets available. Now, this was the page that I had saved into my favourites, so I could just refresh it. It refreshed earlier, showing Gary O'Neill was the favourite for the job. But now, smile. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? And coming not long after, John Percy had tweeted that, and I can never pronounce his name, Cifuentes, is it? That will do. Marti. We'll call him Marti. We're nearly friends. Let's use first names. Is in talks. Now, I wish that, I mean, this was coming live. This came in live while I was still doing my bloody show about Gary O'Neill, for God's sake. But it's looking good. I mean, I am basically ABO. Anyone but O'Neill. I mean, I'd have Peter Taylor back. I know, but I would. But look at him. This is the man, the myth, the legend, and all his information. But what we're going to do, we've got Clibbo, we've got Reese, who are very gladly, or very thankfully come on at last minute notice. They're going to be talking. Reese has been doing his homework, so he's got all the information. I haven't, because I literally, in the hour between my two shows, I've been doing it. But like I say, if you're watching live, thank you very much. Please smash that like button. It really does help the channel. And subscribe if you're new, and you've got to subscribe to chat anyway. Get your comments in the chat. You can see they'll come up at the bottom there, so do get those in. If you're watching on catch up, add your comments below. Always pleased to read those. And if you're listening via your favourite podcast platform, thank you very much indeed. Let's get this show on the road. Is it good news? You never know with Leicester City, do you? Good evening, gentlemen. How the devil are you?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good.
Well, I'm feeling better than I was a couple of hours ago. And I thought I couldn't wear red for 2 shows running. and then Clibbo flies the flag anyway. And Reese, one of my favourite shirts he's got on there. I mean, this is how retro. I mean, I'm going right back to the Alliance and bloody Leicester. I'm going well back. What have you got on yours, Clibbo? What's on yours? Oh, King Power, yeah, one of the King Power ones. And you've probably got FBS, Reese?
No, I've got King Power on mine. This was the 23-24 third kit.
Oh, right, going back a bit. Right, okay. Look, that's the gentleman concerned. Don't know what his odds are because everything's been suspended. There's nothing, like I say, you saw the screen there. He's not employed at the moment. QPR got rid of, he's on gardening leave, I believe. And somebody posted earlier that it was actually paying his own get-out clause. He's been around a bit, I'm surprised. QPR, Hammarby, Oldberg and Sandefjord. And he's been with youth teams before that. Doesn't stay around long, that's the worrying bit, but he's 43, as most people are these days. 4-2-3-1, not won anything, and there you can see his win percentage. Wasn't brilliant at QPR, but Reese, give me your. I mean, I've just come off a show where I have been absolutely screaming about not having. I mean, somebody mentioned Gary O'Neill, and we just got.
Oh God, please, God, please, God, please, no!
Brilliant.
That's how bad it was. Locks, is it Locks? Do you want to join us, mate? Let us know. What do you think of the news?
Very out the blue. Nowhere near a candidate I would have ever predicted to be, and he was nowhere near on the odds either. You know, he was very, very low die. He was at very high odds. But having done a bit of research on him, I do think that it could be potentially a very, very good appointment. I've got a lot of things written down here. I've been doing a bit of homework. So I'll look forward to getting to this list in a bit.
Great. Your early thoughts, Clibbo?
Well, I have to be honest with you. I've relied on the stats man here.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest with you. My only experience of him was a match that me and Reese actually sat together a couple of seasons ago when we watched QPR. My assessment of that was at 80 minutes, Reese, let's just go home, mate, because this is unbelievable. He completely outmaneuvered Enzo in every department. He nullified our weapons magnificently. Mavadidi was marked out of the game by a 6'10" dustman. It was quite unbelievable to watch his tactics. The only positive in that was Ben Nelson, volume one home. But so tactically, he's very astute. From what I can make out, he's able to change things up. He likes attacking football, and obviously he comes from a pretty decent pedigree, a decent school of his training, and obviously he's worked with youth. So for me to say I'm not a little bit excited about that, I would be lying, and certainly the name Cifuentes is a little bit more romantic than our past managers that we've been linked with, let's say.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, last season, Reese, we played them once. We actually stuffed them 6-2. I mean, when you look at what Rude did as a manager, I mean, I know that was probably early, hadn't been with us that long, but a Rude managed Leicester City managed to put 6 past them. That doesn't bode well, does it?
I think you've got to take in consideration that QPR are a lower level championship club and they do have worse players than us, even though ours are much better, but we have better players than what they do. And you got to remember that they did score for a lower end championship club. They did score 2, so you can only work with what you've got. You can only work with rubbish that QPR have. I mean, he took over them when they were in the bottom 3, and he got them comfortably to safety by battering Leeds 4-0, which was very satisfying to watch. And I've actually watched a video of how he nullified Leeds and how he got the better of Leeds, which was very, very interesting to watch. So I don't think you could read too much into, the 6-2 battering. He's got better players now at his disposal, so let's judge him with our players and not past players.
I mean, he kept QPR up, and that's something. Like Reece said, they've not got the best of squads down there, but he got them up to 56. So there were 7 points off Luton, who went down with Plymouth and Cardiff. He knows this division. I suppose there's that advantage, isn't there?
There is, but one of the things that I like about this guy. Going on Reece's sort of research is that I think the ceiling is higher. I think he comes from a really good school of learning in terms of football, and I think the ceiling is higher. I think he's somebody that would be able to develop a style that would actually, with additions, obviously, maintain us in a Premier League, and I think that's the kind of thing. You can go for your Wilders who would get you promoted, but they're not going to keep you there. And I think trying to get something in between is a very, very difficult proposition for any club, not just for Leicester City. And I think this is potentially somebody that we could, providing we don't get somebody else linked with us tomorrow. This is somebody that I could get on board with in that sense.
Oh, no, totally. I mean, let's just go through a few comments here. Blue Tinted Glasses said, this is good news. As I said, he's free and he's better than O'Neill. Apparently he's playing his own compensation, says Fox Fanatics. He must really want to come. The Marti appointment is the best chance of keeping some of our best players like we did with Enzo in 2023. Imagine Bilal seeing Wilder walk through the door. You have to consider, like I say, what he had to work with, which you do. Right, let me just bring Locks in here.
Good. We can chat about his. We can chat to Locks about his sources.
Yes, we can. And you've just sent me a post here, Locks, saying QPR haven't yet received any contact over Cifuentes despite Leicester interest, and that part of the mutual separation agreement was that the compensation is only payable by a club/federation. Look, it's never going to be easy, is it? There's always going to be shrouded in mystery and smoke screens and everything else.
Yeah. Sorry, was that to me, mate? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, that was you. Yeah, sorry, mate. Yeah.
Well, it's never. There's something from Rob Dorset as well, there, mate. But it's never going to be easy with Leicester, isn't it? It's Leicester, of course. Like it doesn't. I mean, I'm sure. A lot of other clubs would have, if they wanted Roll, for example, they would have got him by now, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, even with Marti Cifuentes, even though he's out of a job, it sounds like there is still some difficult things to sort out, because from that first tweet that I sent you, Miguel Delaney, he reckons that the compensation for him has to be paid by a club. He can't pay it himself. So that's different to what, who was it? Who said it? Alex Crook.
Oh, right. Sorry,
yeah. What the journalists and John Percy and stuff said. Yeah. So, yeah. So it's going to be difficult, mate. It's not. I don't think this is over yet. Initially, it sounded like, okay, maybe we'll, 1 day, 2 day, maybe it'll be done, but it could still go on for a lot longer.
I mean, do you read anything to the fact that with Talk Sport on their betting page, there's currently no markets available, and so it looks like it's been suspended for some reason? Would you read anything into that?
Well, if you read into the bookies over the last few days, no. Yet this time last night, it was a given that Gary O'Neill was going to get the job, wasn't it? And Wilder went from 22-1 to odds on or whatever it was. Dyche has been the favourite with the bookies. He was the favourite for like 2 weeks. And now it's it's because of the posts, right? The reports from John Percy and things like that, and then people lump money on and that affects the odds. So I'm just happy that the shortlist doesn't appear to just be Wilder and O'Neill. That's what I'm happy about, to be honest with you. And now there's another name in the link, Bo Svensson, a Danish manager I've just seen from that guy. So it's not over yet, mate. It's not over yet.
Well, why don't we just stay on? All the channels should link together. Just stay on for 24 hours a day, and we'll do shifts so that we can just keep updating everybody as these bloody links come in. I mean, Reese, Locke sent me another link here from Rod Dorset, and he's saying Leicester City are trying to progress a deal to make Cifuentes their new boss after talks stalled with Gary O'Neill. Thank you, God. Earlier today, Cifuentes has offered to forgo some of the compensation due from QPR to take the job. It isn't his yet. Wilder and O'Neill are still being considered. It sounds like he wants it.
Yeah, it does sound like he wants it, which is encouraging to hear. The fact that even though he can't, he is willing to pay his own compensation to get out of QPR's gardening leave, whatever it is, which is very nice to hear, which indicates he does want the job. In terms of Gary O'Neill, Uncle Clibbo told me something very interesting about Gary O'Neill from his source. So I'll let Uncle Clibbo explain.
Clibbo sources now.
I told you, dude, leave that woman alone. She'll have an injunction out against you, Clibbo.
I don't watch any women anymore, mate. I'm just done with them.
You and me both. Go on, mate.
No, but like I say, it's very encouraging to hear that he does want to pay his own compensation to come and join the club. And it's a step up for him. That's just a matter of fact. It is a step up for him from QPR. I like the fact that, going off a bit of topic, that he's worked in multiple countries as well. And his youth development as well is very exciting to hear. And I did watch Lox's channel earlier, listening to Manny and him talk about it, which filled me with a lot of confidence in his playing style.
Clibbo, do you want to share this news with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So the source that I have, obviously I can't reveal, but it's a very good one, is that he was interviewed. They really liked his philosophies and how his style would fit the club, but he actually wanted far too much money and was wanting to be the highest paid manager in that league.
Is this O'Neill?
Yes.
O'Neill? Oh, wow. I thought you were talking about Cifuentes then.
No.
Well, I don't think he's. What do you think, Clibbo? For me, I don't think he's earned the right to demand that sort of money.
No, I mean, I get he's wanting to raise his stock, and he can use Leicester City as that, and that being at Leicester means over the years that we pay over the odds. But I would like to see the club make decisions like that and say, well, actually, no, we're not being held to ransom by anybody anymore. And I think that's the way forward for the club. And if this is a way that we go forward by making those decisions, yes, a lot of people would have liked his philosophies and things like that. But at the end of the day, if you're going to outprice yourself, sod you.
Indeed. Are you pleased O'Neill's hopefully out the running Locks? Were you? I was literally, this all broke while I was actually doing a show on O'Neill. So while we're doing this show, don't be surprised if something breaks and somebody else is going to join us.
Yeah. It's slightly concerning what Clibbo's saying, that they liked his philosophy and they've been talking money with him. Yeah, and I think it's concerning the sheer number of managers that we've spoken to allegedly, and that they all differ That shows me
Have you
in
not had a
pretty much
call,
everybody.
Locke? Have you not had a call to have a chat with them yet?
I've not, mate. No, I've not. No. But yeah, it's like Dyche and Roll and Martin and Wilder and O'Neill and Cifuentes. They're all different styles. Do they not know what direction they want to go in or something? That's how it feels. So it's good to not have O'Neill. Well, Rob Dorset reckons we're still. It could still happen, but it's unlikely. So it is good to hear that it's not as likely as it was 24 hours ago. That's for sure. I think out of all the managers named, other than Roll, I think Marti Cifuentes is probably the best choice, to be honest with you. Him and Roll would be my two picks. I would still favour Roll, but Marti Cifuentes I think is a really good backup option.
Just picking up on that. Sorry, just picking up on what you said, Locks, about different styles being linked with the club. For me personally, the ones that have been sort of closest, with the most evidence pointing towards it, are very similar in the way that they kind of set up or play. And we don't really know who has been interviewed and who hasn't. And the press like to be the press. And with Leicester being tight-lipped, they like to make up stories. So they are linking us with everybody. So I don't know. I'm not quite so sure that Leicester are just not knowing what they want. I think the press are kind of making us more foolish than we are, appear to be.
Well, I was going to say we go off what the journos are saying, and I think out of all of the journalists that have spoken, the two most reliable are Rob Dorset and John Percy, and they've both said Wilder was interviewed, right? So, and that is a different style of football to Marti Cifuentes. So that's what I mean by that. Sean Dyche, again, all rumours, of course. Russell Martin, all rumours. But in the last 24 hours, we've had from two reliable journalists, Cifuentes and Gary O'Neill and Wilder. And those three, I think there is quite a difference. Cifuentes would be as close to Enzo Ball as we can get, really, and who we could afford. He's from that school of Johan Cruyff. That's who he studied. That's what he bases his game around. So, but that would tally up with, the belief that we have as Leicester fans that it's Top who likes that style of football. We heard when Enzo came in that he told Enzo, "I want you to make us play like Man City," and clearly that's what's happening again. So, I think it's the right move personally. I know some fans won't like it. I actually thought Danny Roll was. I've said it many times. I think Danny Roll was the closest we were going to get to pleasing everybody. Because I think it's like in between a Dyche and an Enzo, if you know what I mean. It's kind of in the middle. He's adaptable. But we won the league with 97 points with Enzo Ball. Maybe for some people, they don't really like watching it. But it got results and it won us the league. And I think that's all that the club really want to do now. So,
Reece Locke said before, a bit worrying that we've spoken to O'Neill and actually talked money with him. But I mean, I'm old school, and I can remember when you used to go for an interview, and Clibo might remember this, you used to go for an interview and you didn't even have to talk money because the money was in the advert. You said what the wages were. And I think it's a good thing, actually, personally, because if they don't talk money now and then they decide that, oh, yeah, right, it's Gary O'Neill we want, and then they go back to him, and then he says, well, I want X, and it's too much. It's just wasting time. We're less than a month almost away from kickoff and the Fiorentina game. And we've got another friendly this Saturday. We just want somebody in ASAP, don't we?
Yeah, agreed. It is good that the club decided to talk wages now, if that is true what Uncle Clibo's link's saying. But, the fact that he wanted to be top three paid managers in the league, I think it's a bit arrogant, if you ask me, if that link is correct. But also, but yeah, like I said, the club have stuck to the guns and said, no, you're not being paid that much money. And it's about time they start learning, whether it comes to players or managers, by paying that sort of money. It's unsustainable in our situation at the minute. So I do think it's very good sign from the club that they decide to go, no, sod off, we don't want you if you're asking for that much money. So I'll give that a good tip from the board there.
Jack, welcome along, mate.
Oh,
We're all popping up everywhere and doing shows about this. Like I say, when we finish this one, we'll probably be doing one about somebody else being linked and coming
Sam
along.
Allardyce.
Oh God, yeah. I couldn't think of his name then. That was the name I wanted to say. But Jack, you're smiling. Would you be happy with this, or would you be hoping that maybe it was Gary O'Neill?
Do you know what? I think Cifuentes is a great coach. I think you look at what Danny Rowe did at Sheffield, is done at Sheffield Wednesday. Cifuentes has done very much similar to at QPR. He came into an absolute sinking ship. He stabled the club, brought through the youth players. He plays a Johan Cruyff sort of football, is what I was told by the Hoops and Dreams podcast. I did speak to a journalist earlier on in London. I said to him, there's an unnamed man. I said, could it potentially be Cifuentes? I said, that's the one I would get behind if it was to happen. And he put ... with a wink face. I was like, okay, maybe it is. I said, Leicester's still got one card to deal here, haven't they? And he says, yeah. He said, the unman is Cifuentes. So I would take Cifuentes. I like him. I like his approach. He's still got a reasonable ceiling to produce in football. I think he's got a squad that he can very much work with. One name that I wanted to touch on you is you talked about managers being linked. One name that they have looked at as well is the ex-Union Berlin head coach, Bo Svensson, Danish coach. So he's another one they've looked at. But Cifuentes is very much one that the club look to have wanting to get the deal done. So yeah, I'd be quite happy with Cifuentes, to be fair.
Clibbo, is this a safe pair of hands? He knows the Championship. He plays in the sort of style that we're looking for, the 4-2-3-1, etc. Gary O'Neill, whatever you say about him, he's only ever played in the Premier League. And arguably he's only ever played badly in the Premier League, although Craig from up the cherries in all departments loves him a lot. But, to me, we need somebody that has got the experience at this level. This has just got to be so right, this appointment. Normally you can say take a gamble. Can we afford to take a gamble? I mean, I did say, sometimes it's like roll-ups. Are they a bit of a safe choice?
Well, I mean, it depends which way you want to look at it. You could look at it from the point of view he's a Championship manager. But if you look at it in the round, there's a lot more pieces in the puzzle. And like I said at the beginning, I think he's got the experience to get us out, which is something that the club are looking for. We can't be hanging around in that Championship for a long time. But he's also got a higher ceiling. He's somebody that I believe, given what I've seen so far, especially outmanoeuvring Enzo when I went to see the QPR game, he completely baffled Enzo. I think there's a higher ceiling, and I think he potentially, with the right amount of backing, and I'm not saying billions of pounds, he would be able to keep us up, playing a similar style to what he's going to play in the Championship in the Premier League, which is the holy grail, isn't it? Really, because playing, you're going to be. If you're going to get somebody like Wilder, you're going to be swapping and changing. I mean, Locks has said this plenty of times on his channel, and it's been brought up a lot by other channels as well. You get this manager, you give him a transfer budget, he buys for the Championship. Then you get to the Premier League, you've got to change your style again. It's no good because you're a yo-yo club waiting to happen.
Yeah. Reece, look, you've done your homework. I'm just looking. He's only 42 and he's had a lot of managers' jobs. Now, looking at some of these, it was like 138 days, 122 days, 305 days. But in them, and don't panic, Jack, I'm not going where I went last night, he's dealt with the youth a lot. I dare say that again, Jack. What I said last night, I'll be taken off the air. Again, we always say, don't we, like we need somebody that's going to be good with the youth. And everybody we bring in that we say is good with the youth never plays the youth. But just looking at it here, I mean, Ajax youth manager. Now, for some reason, he left Ajax as their youth manager and went to Millwall youth. I mean, come on, I don't understand that at all. The fuck. Teresa youth, Ruby youth, and then he went to the manager. AIK youth. So he's had that experience of playing with the youngsters, hasn't he? So hopefully that would be, bode well for us in the situation we're in.
Yeah, I do think at the clubs that he was at, there's, that if you look at the likes of QPR, they've not got a great academy. So, and you look at our academy, we've got a load of talent coming through. So he might be able to work with them a bit better. Going to the Ajax youth system, I think is fantastic, considering that's where Johan Cruyff is a legend, and obviously that's where he worked on his football. But yeah, it's very encouraging to hear, and I like the fact that he's gone to multiple countries, learnt different approaches. Because in Sweden, it's very traditional, and I've watched Lox's channel on this, so I'll give him the credit for this one. It's in Sweden that they play very much the similar style 4-4-2, like they did in England, and Roy Hodgson was credited for that. So yeah. I think he tried to go over there and try and change it up a little bit, but it didn't quite work. But I'm not too worried about the fact that he's not been at jobs very long. I do think he's looking for the right project to say, right, I can stay here for a few years, I can build my stock, and I can build a dynasty here and start something good. So I won't read too much into that. I'm just more focused on what he can do for the club, what he can do for these youngsters, and hopefully excite the fans with his football.
When he took over Locks at QPR, and he's been there 602 days, look, his win percentage isn't brilliant, 83 matches, 29 wins. But he took over from Gareth Ainsworth, I believe, who was obviously well loved. He was an ex-player. They were in the shit when he took over, didn't he? They were sort of favourites to go down, and yet he kept them up.
Yeah, and he kept them up playing an attractive way, which is even, I think, quite more impressive because, you get a lot of managers who would go in there and say, right, we're going to keep it tight, we're going to play on the counter and all of this, and he didn't do that really. The good thing as well was he was adaptable. It wasn't just always, how Enzo, right, which, a lot of Leicester fans love Enzo. He tweaked things here and there, but he wasn't very adaptable. And that's what sent a lot of Leicester fans a bit crazy in the end, I think. Towards the end, they were getting a bit fed up. He seems like he is more willing to adapt, depending on the situation. And if he knows his squad isn't good enough, which is why I think Clibo's right. If we were promoted, I think he would change it up. He wouldn't be scared to do that. He's done it with QPR. He will do it with Leicester if we're promoted. But I think the most important thing, I said it in the comment section earlier, is that, how Enzo came in last year or 2 years ago, and there were a load of players who wanted to leave. They spoke to Enzo. Enzo gave his ideas, and they decided to stay. And I'm not saying that's going to happen with our absolute best players. I'm not saying Bilal's going to stay, but I guarantee you this. Bilal's more likely to stay under Cifuentes than he was under Wilder. That's for sure.
Yeah,
agree.
So, and also the profile of player. They don't care. These managers that play this way, they don't care how old you are. They don't care how much experience you have. They care about whether you can play. And you saw it with Enzo. Connor Cody in the bin, mate. Ben Nelson's the one. Ben Nelson's my backup, not Connor Cody. That's what Enzo was like. And it will be the same with Cifuentes, I'm sure. Jeremy Monger and players like this, I think, would be favoured over the likes of Jordan Ayew and Bobby Reid. And that's what the fans want to see. And I think that had to have been one of the first things they spoke about in an interview with prospective managers. They had to get to the youth, chat about the youth, how they would use them. It's a golden generation for Leicester. And we've seen all these rumours with Lewis Page in the week. You have to give the players a pathway. Otherwise, they will leave and they'll go elsewhere. And I think Cifuentes will utilise these players because, as I said, they can play. Doesn't matter what their experience is. Doesn't matter if Jordan Ayew's played 400 games more than Jerry Monger. Monger is the more exciting talent, and he'll be better suited. So, yeah, big plus.
Does this then, Jack? I said this earlier when I was talking about Gary O'Neill. I mean, that guy wouldn't, encourage me to have a shit, to be honest with you. When you walk, When you walk in, when you look at his face, when you walk in on a wet Monday morning, and it's pissing down with rain, snow in the air at Seagrave, and you've got that guy waiting for you, he was going to turn around and walk back out. But as a fan, Jack, when we got relegated last time, we were down on our knees. We wasn't expected. We thought we were going to be going into Europe again, and the appointment of Enzo just gave us that buzz, didn't it? Here's the guy that had Pep dust sprinkled on him. He was holding the Champions League trophy 6 days before he signed for us. It's like, wow, we didn't care that what experience he had. It was that excitement. Now Gary O'Neill doesn't do that for me. Sean Dyche doesn't do that for me. Wilder doesn't do that for me. Rollwood does Cifuentes do this for you?
Yeah, he's a transitional, quick type of manager in his play. He's
Sorry, I'm just reading Fox's comment there.
He is very much possession-based football, but he likes to transition it quite quickly into attack. He likes to play the 4-2-3-1 and that, and he sometimes admires the 4-3-3, which he uses quite effectively against the stronger teams. In that, he likes to score goals. He likes to be on the front foot in game, and he likes to get the young players and develop them quite well, as he did at QPR. He's a data-driven manager as well, is what I got told by the QPR fans. He does use data quite well. He does analyse football. He's not an old school type of manager like you, Chris Wilder's and that, which they'd only use one way of thinking. This guy has two plans. If one plan doesn't work, he's got another plan. This guy wants to achieve so much in football, and he still has that high ceiling. He still can go to the highest level, which will be the Premier League at some point, and hopefully that is with Leicester City. So he's someone the players will get behind. He's someone who's well respected, who loves to put his arms around the players, like Elias Chair, who struggled under Gareth Ainsworth, but then became really influential under Cifuentes. You look at the game when we played them, the 2-1 defeat, which Clibo talks about, when I think Ben Nelson scored in that game. So it's an exciting appointment. I think the fans would very much get behind this one than Gary O'Neill and the Chris Wilder appointment.
Locks, I know you've got to go, so I'll leave you with this question. This is the golden generation for Leicester, isn't it? When you look at that side that Andy King put out the other day, and some of those players, we suddenly rediscovered that there was two halves to a pitch. With Van Nistelrooy, you went over that halfway line, they turned round. We cannot afford to get this appointment wrong, can we?
No, exactly, which is why I think it's so important that we get, we managers can bullshit you. I mean, we heard Steve Cooper, right? We all thought Steve Cooper was going to come in and play the youth and all of this, and it barely happened. Even with Rude, I suppose, to a certain degree, he did do it towards the end. But like when you saw Jeremy Munger come off that bench 5 or 6 times last season, I don't know about you guys, but he didn't look out of place. He didn't look any worse off than Jordan Ayew, Bobby Reed. I'll extend that to Mavididi. I'm not just naming the old ones here, right? So, so they are good enough to play in the Championship, in my opinion. Lewis Page looked incredible against Peterborough, who are League One, right? And so I'm sure he could do it as a backup, not every game, of course, in the Championship. So Jeremy Munger, physically, he looks much older. The pace, the technical ability, and if his head's in it, which again is an important bit as well, if his head's in it, then they have to be utilised. This is what annoyed me last season when people were saying, "Oh, you can't play Munger. He's only 15. It's not fair on him." It's like, what are you talking about? Like any 15-year-old, if you said, "Do you want to play in the Premier League, mate?" Absolutely. Like, stop. So I think it's important that we give him as much game time as possible next season. Of course, the likes of Fatawu and Mavididi, if they stick around, they will be the starters. But Fatawu, Jake Evans, Lewis Page, Aluko, he was incredible against Peterborough. All these players, they will have a part to play next season. And you have to make sure that the manager you're getting in is willing to use them and develop them. I don't want Chris Wilder developing Jeremy Munger. Marti Cifuentes, yes,
Oh my
I'd
God, yeah.
like that.
But are you, very, very quickly, are you not worried, Locks, that Cifuentes might get poached? I mean, do we want to take on a manager that might get... I'm joking, that was rhetorical.
I know. Yeah. The people...
Thanks so much. Blue-tinted glasses, get over there giving me support. Thanks very much, mate, for popping on.
Cheers, lads. Nice one.
Cheers.
Nice to see you both. See you in a bit.
All the best. All the best. And Jack's gone as well. No, there he is. I think he was on a promise, but not let's not presume that. Reese. I mean, Jimmy says there Sky Bet is still not suspended, but I'm just looking at Sky Bet. They've got Sean Dyche as evens. When apparently he'd said he doesn't want the job. Danny Roll is second favourite. Gary O'Neill is 14-1. So I mean that's not. I don't think that's been updated in a long time.
Can't have been updated.
No, it can't. But glad to see Eden Terzic is back in there at 18-1. My choice. If he gets the job, you've all got to come on and kiss my feet because I've been saying Eddie Terzic.
It's never going to happen.
I know it's not. I know, but yeah. So just to go back to the point, Reece, that I said to Locks before he went, it is. This is the one we've got to get right, isn't it? We can't. I know a lot of people, and I was about to do a show tomorrow about Andy King, but it doesn't seem to be any point now because a lot of people, and this is the thing with fans, he's played one game, he had two different teams, played two different styles, and everybody thinks that he's going to be a great manager. I don't think he is yet. I think he could be a good number two to whoever comes in, or part of maybe two number twos like with Claudio and Shaky. And then I think, he could move up as and when he moves in. But we can't take a risk, can we? It's got to be somebody that has got some sort of experience.
Yeah, I agree. I'm opening the agreement with Cifuentes, whatever his name is. I can't pronounce it yet. I'll have to get used to it.
That's good.
I'm hoping in the agreement that Andy King will be part of the backroom staff, which I'm sure it will be, because if Rob Dorset's twin were trying to get a deal done for him, then it must indicate that he wants Andy King part, and he'd be stupid to not have Andy King part of his coaching team. But yeah, I do agree. You do need some experience in there, but I also do believe you need a bit of new blood in terms of the modern day of football, because I do believe, I'll always stick by this, that the old regime of football, the Chris Wilders, the Allardyces, the Hodgsons, all of them, football's way past that now. The game's moved on. So I think you've got a good bit of experience, a good mould of everything with Marti Cifuentes. He can be adaptable when he needs to be. If he needs to sit deep and counter attack, he will. But if he wants to play possession football, he will. So you've got a good mixture there. And for me, from what I've seen, is that he does like to play. Obviously, possession base is his main style, but he loves to press high. He likes to press high, and if you lose the ball, you get it back as quickly as you can. So that does excite me as well. So I think overall, you've got the best package. He's got a little bit. He's got a little bit more experience in the game than Danny Roll has. But I do believe that Danny Roll, in terms of his style, is the right approach for Leicester, like Leicester DNA. But this guy has got the all-round package for me. I do think he'll be similar to Enzo, but a lot quicker, because Enzo just pass. I think this guy says if he sees an opportunity, bang, you go straight away. So he's a strong second choice for me behind Danny Roll, but I am very excited if we do get him.
Clibbo, James Hill's just said there. Ed Hazard just made the point that I was going to make. James Hill said, this is a name that's come out of nowhere. And Ed Hazard said, James, so did Enzo. And that's the point, isn't it? This is all, or most of this is going to be agent talk, isn't it? Bumping up the chances of getting the job, trying to get them an interview and what have you. But yeah, Enzo came totally out the blue. This could be the same.
It is. It is worrying that agents have such a big influence, because for all intents and purposes, we don't really know who is favourite and who isn't. And the agents are pushing the agenda with the media at the moment. I know, I suppose that's always happened, but it seems like every day something different is going on. So that does concern me slightly. But just going back to something Reece said, which I think is a really important point, I think this guy's a risk-free, as far as you can get, as risk-free as you can get out of all the candidates. And one of the things that I saw against Peterborough that really impressed me, that stood out to me from something that wasn't happening last season, is when we lost the ball, the eagerness to get that ball as quickly as possible. And 90% of the time, we got it straight back. There was not a lot of time where they were in possession, passing around, and we were having to get into a defensive position. But we were getting back into our defensive shape very, very quickly, straight onto them when they had the ball. And that's something that's part of his, part of his ethos. I think that's a real match made in heaven, something that can be really worked on. And I think next season in the Championship, it's a great asset. Intensity, said Kingy. Maybe they've been in touch. Who knows?
Well, who knows indeed. Jack, we're looking at Roll, and we're sat here and we're saying, look, just pay, if it's 2.5 million, or if it's, even if it's as low as $1 million, for God's sake, if we can't afford to pay that to get a manager in, how low have we really, really sunk? We bought Koulibaly in for about 2.5, 3. Surely we can afford that for the manager. But we're dealing with a club, Sheffield Wednesday, who's got an owner who is absolutely pissed off and is trying to make him, pay that club down. He's trying to sell the club, apparently. I don't know if there's offers in there. And obviously it might be a better sell to somebody if Roll is still there as manager. But the club might be looking at this with Roll and going, yeah, okay, it's only 2.5 or even $1 million compensation. That's not a problem. In fairness, it's pocket change, isn't it, to top? But we haven't got the time to be pissing about, going say, well, all right, we'll offer you 2.5 million. Well, actually, now we want 3, or you got to wait a week to sign him. So the club might have just said, "Fuck off." As much as we want him, we're kicking the season off in 4 weeks' time. We want somebody in now. So surely that's a good thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not, I would have liked Roll as well, but we can't sort of look at how many times did we hang around for Potter.
Yeah, we ain't got time, have we? Let's be fair. We've got 33 days till the season starts, and Sheffield Wednesday are in a position where they're going to play hardball with their manager, aren't they? They're going to try and take as long as possible with it, so nobody gets him. You look at what Wolfsburg, Leipzig, Middlesbrough, Southampton. Maybe it's a legal thing in his contract that why these teams have been put off this situation. Maybe you can't tap him up or something until a certain time. So maybe Leicester don't want that on the CV. They don't want to be going into a court case with Danny Rowe's agent or something. So I don't know. I think that Leicester have got to act quick now. We can't keep messing about. We either want these men or we don't. Gary O'Neill it's apparently a money thing in it. He's trying to take us for as much as he can. We can piss off, basically. If you want enough, go elsewhere and get it. And let's see you get a job in the next 6 months, because you probably won't. So, yeah, Leicester have got to look at their options now. Dyche doesn't want it because he'll eye up a Premier League job, which is fair enough. I wouldn't have expected him to take the job anyway, because he's looked at our situation and thought, I'm not interested. So this is the man you're looking at now, isn't it? Cifuentes. Already beaten Leicester, so he knows how to analyse the team. He's got most of the players there that have worked in the Championship last time. He's a manager that I think the players can really get on board with. I mean, if this is the fact in keeping El Khanous, maybe it might be a way of doing that, because there's been no other interest from other clubs regarding El Khanous in a minute. I know Liverpool have been interested, but he's not going to get in that team, is he, to be fair, Chris? There's far more world-class players, and he's just not at that level yet. So I like Cifuentes. He is a man that I'd want. He is a man that I'd mentioned yesterday to my dad. He said, who's the fifth man on the list? And I said, I guarantee you it's Cifuentes from QPR. And I wasn't wrong. And people said, that. So I weren't going to give away what I know and because I can't really say too much when I talk to these different people.
No.
I'm quite.
So here's a question.
Have you got the lottery numbers, by the way, Jack?
I haven't. I mean,
here's a question.
I haven't won either, so.
Jack, here's a question. Well, question to you, everyone, even in the chat. This would be a good one. So you can have Marty this week, or you wait a week for Roll.
Oh, that is. Oh. I'll let you go first, Reese. He's your family.
Oh, thanks for that. Cheers, Dad.
You're welcome, mate. You're welcome.
Time ain't on our side, so I would go with Marty.
Jack?
Do you know what? I'm in agreement. We can't piss around anymore. We've got to get pre-season prepped. We've got to plan for the season. We need transfers. We need everything. We need players still to leave the club. So I don't think we can wait another week for another manager. So I think we've got to get it done as quick as possible now and ASAP. So I'm going to stick with Marti Cifuentes.
If you said like Sean Dyche now or Cifuentes in a week, that's different. That is different. Everybody in the chat is going Cifuentes, and I have to say I probably agree, because I don't think there's an awful lot of difference between Roll and Cifuentes. Like I say, there's a huge gap between a Sean Dyche or a Wilder or an O'Neill. And of course, with this guy, and I mean, look, as you know, I'm a big fan of Edin Terzic. We know he's not going to come, but he's been out of football for a year, and you know, a year's a long time in football. Things move on, things change. Look, you know, what we were saying about Potter, wasn't it? You know, if he didn't get a job soon, you know, he'd be well left behind. You know, Kirbishley at Charlton, you'll remember him, Clippo. You know, he left Charlton. Yeah, never got another job because he was holding out, and he never came back. So yeah, I think it's got to be Cifuentes now, because we haven't got the time to make. Now he might come in, and this is the point, Reese. He might come in and not have that money to spend, but he'll have a week. He may be, hopefully so. He'll be at the at Seagrave on Saturday when we play Leyburn, watching, letting Kingy take it and what have you, and eyeing it up. And that's something that if we wait, you know, there's only the one more game, which is the Fiorentina game.
Yeah, agreed. I think also if in terms of the money to spend at the club, I think again with Rob Dorset saying we're trying to push a deal for him, he must have agreed that he's not going to have much money to spend, because I'm sure the club would have said to him, "You're not going to have that much money to spend, but we've got you a whole host of talented youngsters to bring through." So I think he's all right with that, and I think he might have looked at the squad and thought there's a lot of as much as the youth are really, really promising, there's still good like mid-20, like players like Bilal. You know, there's players like Bilal that I can work with, and if we can keep him, of course. But yeah, I think I'd be more than happy for Kingy to take the job at the the Belgian club. I keep forgetting the name. What are they called again? Yeah, them. And I think he'd be happy to. Yeah, them. But I think he'd be happy to sit in the stands and analyse things. But to be fair, when he comes in or when the deal is very, very close, I'm sure he'll give Kingy a ring and say, "What are you pointing at, Mr. Clippo?"
Nothing.
I think he'll be in contact with Kingy, definitely, if this deal is close to getting done, or when it is done, and say, right, maybe try this, and this, and ask him what he wants to do and stuff. So, but yeah, like I said, I'd be more than happy with King to take him on this weekend, and then hopefully he'll be in his ear saying, try this, try that.
Clibbo, on the 24th of June 2025, the club announced Cifuentes had left the club by mutual consent. If that's the case, why are we having to pay any compensation at all?
Well, I mean, legal things in football are a lot more complicated than they are in real life, aren't they? And they tie these deals up. This is why, like, there's so many fractions when deals get done, and everyone wanting their little piece of money out of disastrous situations or good situations, and I think it's very, very difficult and very, very complex. Every deal. I mean, like, you've only got to look at the Danny Roll deal. It's coming out as it's complicated. Well, it's only complicated because professional people are making it complicated. It shouldn't need to be. So who knows what goes on amongst lawyers and the corrupt, as I like to call them. But you know, it's very difficult because you can't surmise, because none of us are in that football world. We know how legal things work outside of the football fraternity, but who knows? I mean, I don't understand if he's willing to pay his own compensation, how he can't. I mean, who's made that rule and under what kind of jurisdiction? I mean, surely there's a way that Leicester can sort of say, well, we'll pay it, but you pay us back, if that's the case. I mean, it just sounds ludicrous. The fact is, we're talking about things that are getting in the way of potentially a good marriage here, and they're legal things.
There's a lot of noise coming from somewhere. Oh, it stopped. Is it me, or can anybody else hear whistling?
Do you mean me talking?
No. I mean, somebody just said there, what's the noise? I don't know. It stopped now anyway. We won't ask what Reece was doing off camera. Just hope he's got enough views. James has said it's a bloody circus. Well, what I said earlier actually is that if we had got Gary O'Neill, he had actually said that he didn't want to walk out to the Post Horn Gallop anymore, and he was going to bring his own walkout music. Anyway, sorry, I had to do that. All of you, but I'll come to you first, Jack. No, I've lost it. Is this you guys all go down to the matches, you speak to other fans. I don't have a season ticket anymore, but is this an appointment that the fans can get behind? I mean, with Cooper, and I can see why they went for Cooper. We now know it probably wasn't the right choice, etc., etc. But the crowd were never behind him, were they? You know, do you think this is an appointment that the crowd, like I say, will get behind and give him time?
Yeah, for sure. You can see the reaction on social media to Cifuentes. They're very much for it, to be honest, the Leicester fans, rather than the O'Neill one that come out yesterday. That Leicester fans were fuming. They went into complete meltdown. They picked the bloody spirits up today, aren't they, off the floor, let's be honest, as Leicester fans. And it's one that they will do. I think Cifuentes built that relationship with the fans. He had that bond at QPR that he built quite well. He had to really pick that back up at Loftus Road because that looked down and out. And this is what he's going to bring now, isn't it? It's what he can bring to the table, what he can utilise to his own advantage. Like I say, he knows the Championship well. He plays an attractive style of football, a more, Johan Cruyff style of football. So he's taken little bits out of each country he's been to, and that is a good thing out of head coach. This is what Danny Roll's done. He's took little bits out of different parts that he's worked in his coaching career and used it to his advantage. And this is what Cifuentes is doing. So the only thing I do hope is, and Leicester fans are the same, will he keep Andy King? And this is the chat that maybe Leicester City have had chat with him and said, okay, well, if we'll appoint you, we've got one man we want to keep. Are you in agreement with it? And I think he has. So he seems very keen on Leicester, Cifuentes. He seems like he very much wants to take over. And that shows real respect to him as well, that he's actually willing to take the job. Cooper was one that everyone moaned about because of his Forest connections and all that. Well, this time, this guy ain't no Forest connector, is he? So this guy's connect the goalkeeper up to the attacker. So the only thing I hope he can bring in, Chris, is a decent striker, and I bloody hope it ain't Lyndon Dykes.
Well, my only worry is, and we had Ross on earlier, that I don't think he'll get the job because he hasn't got a Sheffield United. He hasn't got a Sheffield link. I think according to everybody,
Wilder ain't coming then, is it? Because he ain't got
exactly. But Reece, whoever it is, we've got to give them time, haven't we? I mean, if it comes in and let's say we get 6 points, taken off us, so we're starting on -6. You would hope that we would beat Sheffield Wednesday on the first day. I mean, Sky must be crying into their KFC buckets the fact that we're not going to take on Roll, because that would have been brilliant for them on that Sunday, wouldn't it? But, they've got to give them the support. And that's why I say, again, the crowd have got to get behind this, haven't they?
Yes, they have. That includes the younger generation and the older generation as well. But I also feel like there's a bit of a
talking about you there with the older, by the way, not me.
I hope people can see where I'm coming from. I'm not trying to look my nose down on the older generation fans. At the end of the day, they're the ones that have, built the club up to where it is now. They're part of the reason we had success and stuff. But I do believe that this is an appointment that can get both generations on board. The younger generation get that attacking style, that attacking, high-pressing football that the younger generation used to growing up with, and they want to watch it. And that's what I want to watch. I'm all for, obviously, winning's great, but I'm there to watch my team work hard, score as many goals as they can, and try their best for the badge. And then the older generation, they're more, obviously, the Sean Dyche, the Chris Wilder types that, the no nonsense. They'll do whatever it takes to win. And I think with him being pragmatic and adaptable, you get that as well. So I think it's a win-win, and especially for him as well to build up his stock, to become a Premier League manager. I think it's an appointment that suits all parties. He wants to come here. You can tell he wants to come here with the fact that he wants to pay part of his compensation. And again, both generation of fans get what they want. And that's the most important thing.
Clibbo, as a joint member of the older generation here, we're like, we're like the parents of these two youngsters, aren't we? But, although probably not, we'd have drowned them at birth. But, sorry, guys. Are you
horrible git? You horrible git.
I look the alimony checks in the post to you, but that's old generation, isn't it? It checks in the post to you.
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from, Reece. I do see where you're coming from, but Clibbo, to me, it's all about winning. And when we were 17 points clear under Enzo, it was a bit boring football. I didn't care. We were 17 points clear at the top of the bloody league. Do you want to lose 5-4, or do you want to win 1-0? I'll take 1-0 every bloody day of the week. I don't care who the manager is if he's winning, unless it's Gary O'Neill.
I'm kind of right. I'm going to be a little bit controversial here for the olders. I grew up with that style of, watching, crikey, some right clodders down there, that would just get stuck in and try and just grind out a win. And when we did win, it was amazing. That was a great feeling. But I've got to be honest with you. I've been down the city, particularly in the Championship, when we were playing the Championship, where we've grinded out a 1-0 win with like 90% possession, and I've just been so bored, and I've not had that thrill. It's not. I am slightly turning into that kind of, not Reece to the point where I love Enzo ball, because I didn't love it. I've got to be honest with you, I didn't love it. Whereas this guy, he seems to know where to play that football and where to play, the other type of football. So, like, I think Reese is right. It does. It's kind of bi-generational.
Yeah, Jack, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would.
Or is it all about winning?
The thing is,
Ultimately,
it's ultimately about winning. Of course, it is. That's the aim of the game, isn't it? You never want to lose any game. But you want to see a team which is fully committed, that wears the shirt with pride, and we didn't see a lot of that last season, did we? Let's be fair. We've seen a lot of giving uppers. Let's be fair. You want to see a team that gives it their all, and if they do lose, and they did give it their all and they tried, then you could say, okay, then just unlucky. But this is what Cifuentes will bring to the squad. A squad that fights, that shows that aura about them, that can really go and give it a go. He's got a lot of youth to his advantage that are going to be hungry to really show what they're about and what they can do. So I'm all for that, to be fair. And if it means fighting and winning, just go all out for it, innit? And go and give it your all. Through players, because we haven't seen that under Van Nistelrooy, have we? Where they've showed real commitment in tackling. I mean, last time we did that with Koulibaly, and then he ended up getting dropped for it. So I want to see a bit more strong-minded mentality from this squad next season. If it means taking a player out or two, so be it, man. As long as you score the goal and put it in the net, and hopefully you can turn bloody Daka not into an Adi Akinbaye, then fantastic.
Just quickly. Sorry, just quickly. I'll give you an example about all this 1-0. It's all about winning. We played Bournemouth last season, and we won 1-0 when Anote scored.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of when I was walking out that stadium, including myself, including my mum to a certain, everyone around me, that was poor. That was really, really poor. So there are certain fans, that do want to see the attacking style. Sitting back on a 1-0. I think those days are gone, in my opinion. I think it's all about getting the second, getting the third, and keep attacking and keep pushing. But that's just the way I view football. That's just the way that I can. And I get where you're coming from, Chris. I completely understand. But like I said, there was a lot of disgruntled fans coming out of that Bournemouth game when we won 1-0. They hit the post 3 or 4 times, and there was a lot of fans that were very not pleased at all. And that was poor. That was a really poor performance. It's not just about the 1-0s anymore. It's about the style of play. That's the way this modern day game is going. That's where I was coming from.
No, it's not sport anymore. It's entertainment.
Yeah, I have to put the opposite side. Like I always say, when people have a go at me for stuff I post on the group and Twitter X, whatever you want to call it, I say it's not always my opinion, but my job is to create conversation and have a disagreement with you and put the other side. As in, I could say, well, we won the Premier League on 1-0, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, originally we would. It's where all this pizza stuff come from. Like with Claudio Ranieri, we need a clean sheet.
Yeah.
But before that, we were winning 3-2s against Villa. Coming back from 2-0 down to draw 2-2. There was a lot of goals, but there was a lot of goals conceded as well. So he had to that's where he brought in Danny Simpson, to shore it up at the back, because Richard White was getting absolutely exposed. And then we got battered 5-2 off Arsenal. So like I said, I can see both sides. I can really see both sides. But again, I think football's moved on from those days.
It was entertaining though, wasn't it?
It was entertaining. It was.
Yeah.
But we didn't, I like you say though, even with the 1-0s, we weren't sort of, doing a Mourinho and parking the bus, were we?
No.
And that was the thing. I'm just on the TalkSport website here, and like I say, still not got any odds up, but they've just earlier on they put up former QPR manager Marti Cifuentes is the front runner to become Leicester's new boss. TalkSport understands. Chris Wilder and Gary Neal were both in the running to become Ruud van Nistelrooy's replacement, but it appears that Leicester have opted to bring in Cifuentes, who impressed during his 2 years at Loftus Road while working on a shoestring budget. He ticks all the boxes, Jack, and we'll end with this, but he does tick all the boxes, doesn't he? You know, youth, he's had a lot to do with the youth players, especially Ajax. You know, he's worked on a shoestring budget. You know, points deductions probably won't faze him. He's probably not going to ask for loads of money, but we don't have to pay. And now there's something from the past, loads of money. But, you know, we're not going to have to pay compensation, so we can pay a little bit more on the wages. Them boxes are just being ticked, aren't they?
They are, and this is what you want to see. Leicester have got a strong side, you know. We don't need to add a lot of players to the squad. Let's be fair. We've got a squad that can actually rip the Championship apart. Let's be honest. The Championship is going to be difficult. It's going to be tough. He ticks the boxes with the youth and everything like that. He knows that it's not going to be a big budget. I know Leicester City are still having to explain to him about the whole PSR situation and the rest of the season. So, but no, I've had a look at a few bettings. I've had a look at Paddy Power, William Hill, and all that, and they are all suspended on Marti Cifuentes. So, last time I looked at the bettings regarding any manager, I think it were Enzo Maresca to Chelsea. So, as soon as that was suspended, we knew that were happening. But the bookies always seem to have a little inkling, don't they? They get told a little bit and then they'll suspend it. So, yeah, Cifuentes will be the new manager in due course. Hopefully it is done by the end of this week, and I'm all for it.
Just quickly, before we finish.
Carry on.
I think it'd be really interesting, whoever takes the job, I mean, Jack, you'll be able to tell me, is it a 25-man squad for the Championship?
Yeah.
So it'll be really interesting to see if we don't get rid of the stars or the big earners, what the 25-man squad will be. That will really tell us a lot about what kind of manager we've got, I think.
Yeah. I think with all these youngsters emerging, Louis Page, Monga, Alves, what's his name? Jake Evans, is it Jacob Joseph, is it? Aluko as well. I think you're gonna see a couple of surprises. I
hope so.
I hope so too. I really do.
Well, like I said before, I wouldn't have a problem with a transfer embargo. Because
we have.
You know, as it is a 20-man squad, all I can hope is that Bout Faze is number 26 on the list. And I've just got to say, I'll read you the headlines from the Daily Mail Leicester City page here, because of course a lot of them are talking about, you know, Cifuentes and what have you. But the Daily Mail leads with on Leicester City. You ready for this? You'll like this, Jack. Rebecca Vardy jumps for joy in the bikini during holiday with husband Jamie and pals after putting 9.7 million Portuguese villa on the market amid £4 million Agatha Christie bill. There you go. If you want to see Rebecca Vardy in a bikini, personally I don't, but if you do, get over to the Daily Mail now. You know, God, I'd sooner watch us play Stoke on a wet Tuesday than that. But guys, thank you very much. It was very late notice. Thank you very much for coming on. We know it's going to be announced tomorrow because I'm not around at night, so you might get some very late requests from me when I get in at an odd hour. But something I'm going to see my granddaughter, and some things are more important than football. Jack, final whistle. Thank you very much, mate, for joining us. Recently, as always, thanks for having me on. I'll probably speak to you tomorrow, Thursday or Friday, when, you know, like you say, Sam Allardyce is linked to something, you know.
Who's that
guy? I tell you who hasn't been mentioned yet.
Go on.
And I think we're missing out here. Alan Pardew.
Oh dear me.
Jesus.
Well, having said that, he could still be under contract to Newcastle.
That guy's still in the cup final, that bloke.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
He's got a good right hook on him, though, apparently. Guys, thank you very much. Have a good night. It's been a pleasure, and I appreciate you all coming on. Take care, guys.
In a bit, guys.
Cheers.
In a bit.
thanks very much to the guys there. Really do appreciate them coming on. Very last minute, very, very last minute. So as I say, I was doing another show when this came. Josh, well, that's up to yourself, mate. If you don't want to subscribe, you don't want to subscribe. I can't force you. Believe it or not, I'm not actually going to have any tears. Or is that because I mentioned Alan Pardew? No doubt you'll say. Look, please do subscribe, though, everybody. It does help the channel. Smash the likes button as well. That really, really also helps the channel. Click the notification bell because off season the shows are coming thick and fast. I know, Josh. I know, but can you imagine? I mean, Alan, this is Leicester. You never know. But thanks very much to everybody. As I say, smash the likes. Have you been watching it on catch up? Add your comments below. And if you've been listening by your favourite podcast platform, thank you very much for lending me your ears. I need a shit. I'm not going to lie to you. So I will go now and drop the kids off at the pool. And I'll see you probably in the next couple of days when hopefully we're announcing Cifuentes as our new manager. Marti Cifuentes, Blue and White Army. Does that work? I think so. Good night.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.